Welcome to the Ismaili Centre Toronto and this very special edition of Ismaili TV, and a warm welcome to the Living Sea Fragile Beauty exhibition by Prince Hussain Aga Khan of stunning underwater photography, and he joins us now. What an honor it is to speak with you and to get a tour from you.
The honor is all mine. Thank you.
For myself and the Jamaat. Thank you.
Huge honor for me, so thank you so much.
And thanks for spending your time with us. So before we get started, I understand you had an interest in animals since you were very young.
Super young.
Talk to me about how you got into all of this.
I guess my uncle Sadri was a huge thing. He was a big conservationist. He loved animals. He was an animal rights activist. He'd write things for animal rights now and again. He shut down some shops on the quays in Paris. He did a dolphin and whale conference in Geneva when I was a kid on captivity. And he brought Greenpeace and World Wildlife Fund and all these organizations. I must have been 16 when I attended. I was very close to him, but I think Jacques Cousteau and David Attenborough videos when I was a kid were huge. Gerald Durrell, my mum used to read the book My Family and Other Animals to us. It was, I loved the title more than anything else. But I was in love with the color and shape and movement of animals from when I was tiny. And it just happened, and I can't explain it intellectually. It's just happened, and I've been in love with it my whole life.
I remember you said at one of your talks that you would go through an airport and want your parents.
I'd buy any sculpture I saw. I'd buy postcards if I was in a shop on the street and there were 5 animal postcards and 7 other ones. I'd buy the 5 animal ones. I bought books. I remember traveling through Miami airport when I was about 14. Buying 2 or 3 dolphin sculptures and a shark one, breaking it on the breaking on the elevator, not the elevator, what's it called? On the
escalator.
Escalator, yeah. I've always bought things that have animals in them. It's very strange, and I find myself at 49 as passionate about them as I was when I was 10 or 12.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's weird. It's funny. It's really sort of interesting and nice.
And you mentioned your uncle, Prince Sadruddin Aga Khan, and you manage his fund for the environment. He had such foresight. I mean, he was eons ahead of his time.
He really was.
What do you think about what you're doing right now and what's happening now?
I hope he'd like it. I mean, I'm in touch with Aunt Casey a lot. I see her whenever I can. I think she's quite happy I do what I do. I love her like crazy. And I think he was an incredible example, and I'm really thrilled to be following on with some of the stuff he did.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay.
He was incredible. He was wonderful. And he was very ahead of his time. Very ahead of his time.
Back then, I mean, it wasn't. Not only was it not talked about in the mainstream, a lot of people didn't even know this was
No,
a
they
thing.
didn't, and a lot thought he was an alarmist and didn't take him as seriously as they could have. So, everything he spoke about, or almost everything he spoke about, has come true in my lifetime.
Wow.
Almost everything. So he was very ahead of his time.
And he inspired you.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
A lot.
I chose this photo first because it really looks like this animal is smiling.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's amazing. So that's a dugong in Egypt, sea cow, and I saw male in 2017 with my guide. All the video you see is by my guide for dolphins in Egypt called Simone Piccoli, who comes on a number of trips of mine and shoots with me. Takes incredible video and has won a whole bunch of awards for a video on humpbacks in Tonga, dolphins in Egypt, where I go see dolphins every year. And he took me to see dugongs in 2017. There was a male that we hung out with a lot who was pretty incredible. And this is a female just last winter who was amazing. They spend their lives eating seagrass, which looks like a very boring ecosystem, but is incredible for capturing carbon. It sequesters a ton of carbon, seagrass does.
Oh.
And the dugongs just eat all day long, and they go up for breath every 5 to 8 minutes or something.
So is that a picture of them?
This is seagrass. This is seagrass. These are jacks. The people think they're pilot fish because they're ahead of the animal, but these are jacks that go around with it everywhere it goes.
Wow. And
she just eats all day long, and she's sort of just very interesting and huge. They're 3 meters and 400 kilos or something, or 4 meters and 400 kilos. They're enormous. They're actually quite muscular. They look like they're just flab, but they're actually very muscular. Yeah, that does look
like it here.
They're very muscular, and they're what started the mermaid legend.
Tell me more.
Their scientific name for the family is Sirenidae, like sirens or sirena or whatever. And the US history book from 8th grade when I was at Deerfield said that whilst we find it very hard to believe that these animals could be seen as pretty girls with fishtails, You have to remember that the Spanish sailors had been at sea for many months and not seen women for just as long. So this is actually probably manatees in Florida or the Caribbean might be where the mermaid legend came from, but sea cows, Sirenidae, mermaids.
So this exhibition outside, when you first walk outside, one of the first photos that you see is one of a moment that'll always stay with you.
Always.
Tell me a little bit about this animal and this moment and this photograph.
So it's a humpback whale, and it's a mother. Her calf was off to the side. Her calf was off to the side. It went away. The calves come up every 3 to 5 minutes because their lungs are smaller and they haven't sort of practiced diving and staying down. The mothers stay down for 20-25 minutes. They could stay down for longer, but they stay down for 20-25 minutes. The calf had left. She was looking at my guide and my photo instructor, and then she turned to me and she stared at me for a few seconds, and she's huge, and the end of her pectoral fin was as close to me as you are.
Really?
Yeah,
like this?
It's a fisheye lens, so she looks much further away than she was.
So you were closer to her than this
super
even
close.
looks?
Yeah, it was this close to her.
That we are at
Yeah,
the distance.
she turned to me and she looked right at me, and for me it's amazing because dolphins and whales echolocate.
Right.
That's how they find food. Sperm whales click at things, and they can actually read you. They can read things. Dolphins find food, find fish and things by echolocating. They recognize pregnant women, so dolphins will sometimes act differently around pregnant women, spend more time with pregnant women than other women. And I always say it feels like they can peer through your soul when dolphins and whales look at you. You know they're intelligent, they have culture, they teach their kids things. Females giving birth have midwives, their sisters or cousins will actually stay with them and help them now and again. In Patagonia, in New Zealand, there's a training beach. You know where they eat seals? They go up on the beach and they eat seals. Parents train their kids how to do that. They train their kids to go through a deep water channel up onto the beach to eat seals. They teach each other things. They're brilliant. And so it actually feels like they're communicating with you when a whale or a dolphin looks at you. And I don't know whether it lasted 3 seconds, 15 seconds, or less or more, but I'll never forget this mother whale turning right at me, and she was vertical too, as you can see. She wasn't horizontal.
Where's her eye here?
Her eye's right
there.
And I'll never forget it. You don't forget when an animal stays with you for minutes. I mean, I have turtles that stayed with me for 45 minutes at a time. Dolphins, these 2 dolphins you'll see later, stayed with me for a crew and I for 2 hours and 55 minutes. They're the most amazing things when they look at you, but also just being that close to an animal is amazing.
And a large animal at that.
In this case, a very, very large one. They can be 15 meters long, so yeah. But to me, it's always amazing that an animal will stay with you. And I always think a lot of what I do is luck, like a ton of luck, because you can go into your garden and see nothing. You can go into your garden and see 5 squirrels. You can go into your garden and see a crow, a hummingbird, or whatever, a bluebird, a jay. And you can go into your garden and see absolutely nothing. So for me, it's like, do you see anything? Will it stay for a while and will it let you get close? And some animals, they swim away when they see you from 40 yards. I mean, I've had turtles swim away when they see one bubble or a flipper. And then some animals let you, come close, stay 6 feet from you and stay there for 40 minutes. You never know which it's going to be. But when an animal stays with you from this close or closer for even 5 minutes, it's the most amazing thing to me. And when they're actually looking at you, it's the most incredible thing. So I have some dolphins and some whales that have stared at me. Some turtles have stared at me, and I'm always fascinated by the charisma of the animals more than the actual species. I like sort of a lot of different species, but the charisma is what gets to me, and the proximity and the sort of starting the communication.
I'm going to ask you this question. It's a bit of a cerebral one, but when you were saying how they act different to pregnant women, for example, do you think these type of animals, they get a sense from people under the water? Like, do they get a sense of how you're going to react? That's why they feel safe with you. What do you think it is?
I think they feel safer with some people than others. I'm not sure, but and I think you're extremely privileged when you get very close to an intelligent creature. And people always ask me what the most interesting or intelligent creatures are. I always say cetaceans, right? Marine mammals. Right. Sea lions are incredibly playful and intelligent. They'll literally play around you for minutes at a time. And turtles are fascinating to me. They're not, the reptiles are not mammals, obviously, but they're also fascinating to me.
As I understand it, whales, they live past their reproductive age. Right. So, grandmothers are living, and their purpose obviously is to reproduce, but they live to teach each other things? They teach each other things, they learn from each other. Yeah, definitely.
And whale mums stay with their calves for a year. Dolphin mums stay with their calves for 3 years. So you often see two different sized calves with a mother dolphin. I see quite often that they teach each other things, they learn from each other. They're incredible animals, very, very intelligent.
And sir, can I double click a little bit?
Of course.
Can I ask you, because
please.
the thing that really struck me is when you just said that they act like midwives.
I think sometimes
That's pretty shocking.
sisters and cousins and things actually help dolphins give birth. Yeah. They're incredible, really incredible.
Wow.
And you know, they teach each other how to catch seals on the beach in Patagonia. And there are 2 beaches in Patagonia where the orcas beach themselves to eat seals.
Right.
I think there's like the feeding beach and the training beach, and they teach their kids how to go through the deep water channels and go up on the beach and catch seals.
It's
They're
amazing.
brilliant, really
amazing.
brilliant.
We're going to now talk about an animal that scares a lot of people.
Okay.
I think you know what I'm referring to.
Yes, I think so.
And some of the facts that you mentioned when I've heard you speak, you often say is sharks are misunderstood. Tell me why.
They're, well, because of films like Jaws and 47 meters down and The Shallows and Sharknado and God knows what. Only 6 to 8 people are killed by sharks every year. Around the world, only 6 to 8 people are killed by sharks every year. So I'm sure they bite more, but they only kill 6 to 8 people around the world every year. We're killing 100 million sharks every year. Minimum 80, maximum 270, according to Google, minimum 80, maximum 273 million sharks every year for the shark fin trade. And in nets and the rest, people sometimes kill them for fun. There's a video of two people torturing a shark a few years back. Well, there's actually 2 guys in Norway who cut a fin off and laughed at the shark as it was sinking down without fins. There were these kids shooting at sharks in Florida a while back. They're hated. They're also that we only see like 8 to 10 species in the media, but there's over 500 species of sharks in the world. So you have everything. You have laterally compressed sharks, vertically compressed sharks, striped sharks, spotted sharks, dwarf lantern sharks that'll sit in your hand, whale sharks that are 13 meters long. 500 species of sharks, and if you count rays, which are cartilaginous fish as well, 1,071 species of recognized sharks and rays in the world. We only see, I don't know, 8 or 10 in the media. There's 500 species of them.
Wow.
And they hardly ever attack anyone. We feed them, and we feed them to bring them in to take photographs.
Right.
We feed the tiger sharks, and we feed the oceanic white tips and the great hammerheads in the Bahamas. They don't come for us. I mean, you put the food in the water, there's blood in the water, they circle around, they eat. I've only been sort of threatened by a shark on a shark feeding dive once, an oceanic white tip in Cat Island. Sort of was a bit threatening, but in dozens of shark dives I've done, they hardly ever come to us. They're not interested in us at all. So
they're
I
living
feel
their best
very,
life.
very badly for them and what we think of them and how we treat them.
Right. So I mean, you're saying that it's misunderstood, but we're in a way conditioned to be scared of them,
absolutely.
right? So when you go in the water, are you ever afraid?
I was afraid in a cage with great whites, but I think some of that is Jaws and some of that is the fact that I find them a little bit more threatening looking than other sharks. I find tiger sharks more attractive, bull sharks they're more dangerous ones with tigers and bulls and great whites. I find tigers and bulls quite beautiful. I find great whites really scary. But I'm sure if I hadn't seen Jaws about 5 times when I was a kid, and all these other films about sharks, I'm sure I'd be less scared.
Right.
But you won't find me swimming in very, very deep water on my own. I don't like that. I feel much more vulnerable at the surface. You can't move vertically and laterally at the surface, so I'm much less comfortable with the surface and down below. You also can't take photos as good at the surface as down below. It's nice to be able to move around a subject, get different angles and all the rest. So I'm afraid sometimes, and now and again when you have a large shark coming towards you on a shark dive, you get a little bit scared. But I know the statistics. I've been doing this for a while. I've been diving with sharks for a long time. I know the statistics, so I'm probably less afraid than many people when I go down.
Many
with
people
sharks.
would be. It's very apparent what's in here at Hook, and I think there's another photo here. Talk to me about what you've seen in terms of a difference over the past 3 decades when you've been swimming with sharks.
So I see hooks in the mouths of maybe a fifth or a sixth of all the sharks I see in the Bahamas. And Bahamian waters are protected for sharks, but whether people fish on purpose or by mistake, I see scars, damage, hooks, and maybe a fifth or a sixth of the sharks I see. I've seen a lot more plastic the last 10 years than before. I know it was there before, but I never actually saw it.
Right.
In 2017, I saw a ton of plastic in the Philippines. Into Indonesia a couple of times. It's one of the worst countries for plastic. In Sardinia, where I grew up every summer, where I grew up and we spent summers. I saw tons of plastic in 2020, tons of it. I'd never seen it before in 2020. I saw tons of plastic in Sardinia. And the coral is dying in a lot of places where I go. A lot of places where I go, it's less significant, there's less of it, and it's dead or dying in a lot of places where I go.
And do you notice less sharks? Like, are there less sharks? Because you've gone to places again and again.
I go to
correct?
specific places for sharks. I know that in the Galapagos and Cocos in Costa Rica, where you used to see walls of hammerheads, if you're lucky, you'll see a wall of hammerheads now and again, but it's much less than it used to be. Just massive decline in sharks. They have 72% decline in the last 40 years, sharks. Most species has been a 68% decline in the last 40 years. Sharks has been a 71 or 72% decline. I go back to the same places over and over to feed them, to photograph them. So there I haven't noticed a huge difference, but I'm sure if I went to some countries 10 or 15 years ago and went back today, there'd probably be less.
Probably less. It's startling to me that when you said, I didn't even think about that, but the 6 to 10 deaths and hundreds
6
of
to 8
millions,
deaths.
6 to 8, sorry, 6 to 8 deaths.
And we kill
and
100
hundreds
million.
of millions. We've been conditioned to be afraid of these animals.
Very.
And angry at
Very,
these
very.
animals. And,
No, it's crazy.
And there's no need,
I think we kill more in an hour than they kill us in a year. It's completely insane.
That's really sad.
And the demand for them is not, I mean, most people don't want to eat shark fin soup. It's the same with whales. In Norway, a lot of whale meat ends up in dog food. Shark products end up in makeup and end up in supermarkets. They often have shark under the false name of bluefish or whitefish in supermarkets.
Really?
Yeah. And fish and chips in England is also often dogfish, which is a kind of shark, like a ground living shark.
Right.
Dogfish, it's a family of sharks. So we sometimes eat sharks. They're in makeup products. We're killing hundreds of millions every year, and they only kill 6 to 8 of us. It's really crazy.
There's one picture, and I know you don't have your favorites, like picking your favorite kid, so
Well,
you can't
I
pick
have
your
my
favorite picture.
I have my favorite encounters. And
Encounters,
moments. Yeah,
right,
I do,
right.
yeah.
I love, I mean, this photograph, I just absolutely love, like the symmetry of it almost.
Yeah,
it's stunning.
It's beautiful. I love it too.
And you seem to be really connected to dolphins. I mean, many animals,
Yeah.
but you seem to be quite connected to dolphins. Tell me
Yeah.
about their playful nature, because as I understand it, they're
They
the
play all the
only,
time.
they play all the time.
They play so much. I'm good friends with one of the foremost experts of dolphins on the planet, who's Denise Hussain, who's got a wild dolphin project is the name of her project, and
Right.
she's based in Palm Beach. And I go with her almost every year to see spotted dolphins, which we have there. These are spinner dolphins in Egypt. The spotted dolphins are here.
Those are the spotted
Those are spotted dolphins, and they're
dolphins,
actually
okay.
born without spots.
Oh,
They're born without spots, and they gain spots as they age. I think they're 4 or 5 when they start to get spots, and by the time they're 10 to 15, they just have tons of them. Denise has been studying them for almost 40 years. She's been
Right.
tracking the same dolphins, studying the same dolphins. She can recognize 100 by sight, and her research assistants photograph bottlenose dolphin fins from the surface, but they only really focus on the spotted dolphins. With photos and notes, they can recognize over 150 of them, I think. It's unbelievable.
that is.
And it's down to, do you see the L behind the eye? And so we go, what? They're like, there's 5 spots
How do
down
you-
one
right,
line and
right,
2
right.
down lines, an L behind the eye. I'm like, are you serious? I can't believe it.
That's amazing. What are they doing in this photograph? Do you know?
I think they're socializing. I think they're just playing.
they're just playing. Are they a family, or it's hard to tell?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know the names of some of them, but
Right.
not all of them. And if you get down to an L behind an eye, I have no idea. Literally none.
Right, but it's
But,
just what a stunning photograph.
It's amazing. This one's clearly older than the other ones, and
Oh, you know that because of the spots.
the spots. Yeah,
right,
if you look, there's
right,
very
right,
few spots on this one. As far as we can tell, none on those.
Right, and few on this one.
There are also bottlenose in the area. The bottlenose and spotted sometimes hybridize. So Denise says she sometimes sees bottlenose with some spots, and spinner dolphins are a little bit shorter and thicker than other ones.
Dolphins are the first non-human persons. What does
Right.
that mean?
I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think we just realized how intelligent and social they are, and we've realized that they have intensely serious family structures and hierarchies. So I think it's mainly about intelligence, and I think India was the first country to pass that law a few years ago. I think a few countries followed suit. I'm not sure how many or which ones, but
Right.
they're extremely intelligent and sociable, and they have amazing bonds.
And have you noticed moments of humanity when you watch them? Have you noticed playfulness?
Very often. I mean,
Tell me.
they're just so close to each other. They're so playful. They interact so much. They stay in the same groups for so long. Again, mothers with calves for 3 years. I often see a smaller calf and a larger calf with a mother. They're incredible. And again, when you look in the eye of a dolphin or a whale and a sea lion, you can feel intelligence. You know their intelligence. You've read about them. You've seen it on documentaries. You know they're intelligent, and you can really sort of sense it when you're looking at them, watching them interact and the rest.
What's your worry or threat when it comes to dolphins specifically?
The cove in Japan is one horrible thing. Captivity, dolphins and orcas often get sick or go crazy. But I think, we catch them in nets now and again. They were caught on tuna boats in the old days. I think they probably still are. So they're definitely getting killed, and a third of them are at risk of extinction. A third of shark species, a third of dolphins and whales are at risk of extinction.
When you're saying captivity, you mean like aquariums and ecotourism and things like that they have? Okay.
The cove in Japan, they kill hundreds of them, but they pick up the most attractive ones to send to marine aquarium, right? Marine parks. They actually capture the nicest ones and send to marine parks and kill the rest. But no, they're definitely a third of all dolphin and whale species are at risk of extinction.
Wow.
Northern right whales are down to 300 or less individuals. In Mexico, the vaquita has been dying out for years. It went 4 or 5 times over the last 12 years. Every time I go, there's less of them. It was 120 when I first heard, then 80, then 60. Now I think they're down to 10 or 12 vaquitas. Hector's dolphin in New Zealand is going extinct. River dolphins, most people don't know there are freshwater river dolphins in China, in India, in Brazil, in the Amazon in general. The Yangtze River dolphin in China has gone extinct. I think the Ganges River dolphin is doing badly. I think the Amazon River dolphins are doing slightly better, but a bunch of animals have gone extinct in our lifetimes. A lot of them.
And these are ones that have intelligence.
The
like
ones,
they know what's happening
absolutely,
to them.
That's
And
some of the things I'm most interested in photograph the most. Yeah.
That's amazing. You seem to have a lot of photographs with sea turtles.
Yeah.
Tell me about them.
I love them more than anything. They're reptiles, not marine mammals, but they're so interactive sometimes, and they seem so curious and so sort of intelligent at times that they almost feel like marine mammals to me, but they're not. They're reptiles. I see green turtles and hawksbill turtles and loggerheads in the Bahamas. But I've also seen leatherbacks in Gabon laying on the beach at night. And 6 out of 7 sea turtle species are endangered. It's a horrible thing. Hawksbills are critically endangered. The others are all endangered or threatened as well. I can't remember which species of the 7 is not endangered, but 6 out of 7 are endangered. It's horrible.
And they spend time with you. Like they actually swim with you and stay with you.
And a loggerhead like that, just 2 and 3 weeks ago, I had one stay with me for 10 minutes at a time on 4 different dives. I don't know what it is, but I always feel so privileged because it's so rare that anything, including a human being, come within 6 or 8 feet from you and stay with you for half an hour.
Right.
So I'm always amazed. I'm always fascinated. I find them really interesting and wise-looking and calm and quiet and just amazing.
These photos are stunning. I mean, this is amazing to see the belly of the
I
turtle
love this
in
one
way.
because exactly the plastron is uniform in color and texture. Usually there's algae or scars or this and that, but that one, this is in Belize, which is the second biggest reef in the world after Australia. And I just love this. That's the best turtle stomach I've ever seen. So yeah, I love that image.
Wow.
I like that image a lot.
No, it's
I like that one too.
When you can see it, like.
Well, he was amazing because the kissing turtle photo I have.
Yeah.
At Danger Reef in the Exumas.
Right.
I followed this. I'm assuming the bigger one was a male. I followed him for 10 minutes. He wouldn't look at me. Just kept swimming. You always want to get the front or the side of the face. Couldn't get his face. Kept swimming. We came over a sand patch, and another turtle came from behind a reef and came towards it. And they either bit each other or kissed each other. I have this fantastic image called Turtle Loggerhead Love Bites, or Kissing Turtles. And this, I think, is a male, and they actually approached me, and I approached them at the same time while they were kissing, while they were coming together. And at one point, I had the male in front of me and the female behind me, and they were sort of revolving around me. Wow. One of the most incredible things that I've ever experienced. I think this is the male. And after I shot him with his wife or girlfriend for a while, he didn't seem particularly happy. He didn't bite me or anything, but he just sort of swam over me and sort of gave me this nasty look like that.
You're ruining this moment.
Right. He's actually above me. He's not face to face. He's slightly above me and looking down at me.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it almost looks like he's thinking in that moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
definitely. Wow. I think a lot of animals are more intelligent than we think they are. I think a lot of them are more intelligent than we think. We always talk about dolphins and whales and chimps and gorillas and orangutans, but I think a lot more animals than we think are intelligent.
That kissing turtle one is one of my favorites of the exhibition.
I love it.
Yeah, and so that's what you think they were doing. I mean, it's hard to tell what exactly was happening, but there was a moment between these two animals.
There was a moment where they literally united and started swimming with each other. and then came towards me and interacted with me for a while. And I'm kind of sad I didn't get better photos because actually my lens, I guess the minimum distance made it such that when they got very close to me, I couldn't shoot them.
Right.
So the image I had of them, they were maybe 10 meters away from me, and they came much closer.
Right, because it's hard when it's like right there. Right. Oh, that's so neat.
And I just saw two loggerheads unite again at Danger Reef 3 weeks ago. I have these images of 4 of them circling each other again.
Wow.
But 8 years later. And I think there's a mating couple there. So it's possible it's the same ones. I'm not sure. I've heard from people there might be a mating couple there. So they might be there all the time. I only see them in April and May when I go. I go April, May, and December. But some of the most amazing things to me are turtles.
Amazing. Tell me about this photo of a sperm whale.
So sperm whales, one thing I love about them is their heads are a third the length of their body. And just like humpbacks, their fins are a third the length of their body. They dive super deep. I think they can stay down for an hour. Beaked whales can stay down over 2.5 hours, but sperm whales can stay down, I think, for 1 hour. They're stunning. They were the most prized whales for the oil in their head is at the back of their brain, spermaceti oil. And I think they were hunted nearly to extinction. This is in Dominica in 2019 or 2020. The first time I went, it was incredible. One of my favorite encounters is this calf that stayed at the surface and waited for me for 5 minutes. It's somewhere in here.
Waited for you?
Waited for me. It was incredible. The first day it was swimming away as fast as it could. Bumped into me the first day, almost ended up on the swim platform behind me. The second day it was swimming away from me, but not that fast, not as fast as the first day. And the third day it waited hanging at the surface.
Wow.
Head first, because sperm whales often have their heads up and actually sleep heads up, heads to the sky. So this sperm whale calf let me stay with it for 5-10 minutes a few years ago. It was really amazing. This is an adult. Males are bigger than females.
Okay.
Their teeth can be the size of bananas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the adult males can be 18 meters. Their teeth can be the size of bananas. In the first 2 days I was shooting them, I was actually kind of scared. I know they don't attack people. I know they hardly ever attack people. I mean, never do. Tony Wu, one of the best whale photographers in the world, had a sperm whale called Can Opener, which was the most social one there. There's a family they named the Utensils. Can Opener held his leg in its mouth for a few minutes. Wasn't biting down, but was holding his leg in its mouth for a few minutes. And he sort of said that they communed, they were looking eye to eye like whales have done with me before, and got to sort of understand and know each other for a while. And he said that they both seemed sad when they were separating after the encounter. I've had the same kind of thing. I felt sad sometimes separating from animals. There was a sea lion that played with me for an hour and 10 minutes a few years ago. I was actually really sad when it left.
Wow.
But these are incredible animals, and they were again hunted to extinction. They had the most viscous oil of all the whales, so they were the most prized whales.
Right. When you're taking these photographs, I mean, you're seeing this majestic animal. You're balancing a camera, right? You're swimming. You're aware of what's around you.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How does that work? I mean, I have a hard time taking photographs on land.
Well, I've been doing it for a long time, but I still take a lot of blurry and overexposed images. I still take a lot of bad images. You have to manage 2 flashes, and I shoot less well on the right than the left. So if I can position myself on the right of an animal, I will. But it's harder. I mean, if an animal is slow moving or if something is static, then you can change the flashes and do all this and that. If I'm swimming really hard next to an animal, I don't have time. But I take hundreds of thousands of photos every year. Hundreds of thousands. I can take 8 photos a second with my new cameras. I used to be able to take 12 a second with the old cameras. I hardly ever do take 8 a second, but if something is incredible is happening, like the sperm whale calf waiting at the surface, I'll take 8 photos a second. With flash, it takes 1.5 seconds to recycle.
Okay.
And surface light for dolphins or whales and sometimes mantis is fine, you don't need flash, but past a certain depth, red comes out of the color spectrum, a few other colors come out of the color spectrum, and you really need flash. One of the reasons it's organic matter in the water, bad visibility, plankton, whatever, because if you close the gap, there's less stuff between you and the animal, so that's a reason to be close. The other reason is because the flash only goes 5 feet in the water.
Wow.
But you don't need it at the surface, which is why you don't see any flash with the dolphins and the whales.
Right.
I love this shot because there was a family of about 5 sleeping. You can see it head up here. There were 5 of them sleeping, and this whale came right up to me and went past me. I love that image.
That is, again, like it's like there's the eye is open. It looks like there's some
absolutely.
thought, something happening
amazing.
here, right?
They're incredible animals.
Almost a smile there too.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I love this one too because I was a very, very young calf. You can see from like the sort of cuts or the sort of different shapes in it.
Oh, because it's come out.
It's quite young, and it'll lose those stripes or those whatever indentations when it's older. So I love that image too. And sperm whales, actually, they shed skin. So you can see how
Yeah, I was
there's
going to
some
ask you
very
about
pale
that.
skin and some
It
very
looks
dark
like it's
skin.
peeling out.
They literally shed skin now and again, yeah. So
wow.
they're amazing, amazing animals.
Very cool. We're going to move on to the last part. This is a rare sight at a point.
I never used
with
to
plastic.
see plastic.
You never used to see
I
plastic.
never
like
used
this.
to see plastic. I now see it everywhere. See in the Galapagos, the Philippines,
Right.
Indonesia, Sardinia, even the Bahamas. And you know, we don't really have reliable alternatives for plastic. We have almost nothing that we can scale up. We always talk about big plastics and collecting big plastics, but it's the microplastics we don't see that are more dangerous. And it doesn't really matter how many of the big pieces of plastic we collect so long as there are microplastics in the ocean. We actually ingest, as humans, a credit card worth of plastic every week.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
We drink from plastic bottles, we eat from plastic containers, we eat with plastic utensils, but we actually have, I think it's a credit card worth of plastic in our system every week. It's either every week or every month. No reliable alternatives. One of my friends, a Canadian friend here, Ali, has invested in a plastic alternative company, and their best projection is they can replace 1% of plastic bottles. It's the very best projection they have.
That's really unfortunate.
100% of sea turtles studied in a few assessments have had plastic in their guts. We'll have more plastic in our seas by 2050 than fish.
Right.
It never degrades. It's one of the most awful things possible.
And I mean,
see
look,
it
like the
everywhere.
way that it affects an animal, like it just, I looked, when I first looked at this image, I'm like, what's different about this? This is beautiful, but no, you see.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The last day, the last minute, we were raising the anchor, and these two dolphins, Monkey and Jammin, came in, and we had them for 2 hours and 55 minutes, playing with us. I swam 3 miles and a quarter, 3.15 miles.
Wow.
And they were just incredible. So these are jellyfish. They played with the jellyfish a bunch. They played with us. They played with each other. But yeah,
I mean, how do they get this? Like, if they don't have hands to do this, right?
Don't.
Like
They don't. But one thing they do that's really interesting is they trail sargassum off their fins and tails now and again. Seaweed, long seaweed, sargassum. And Denise sometimes plays with them with scarves. She'll hand them the scarves. They'll bring the scarves back to her. Sometimes they'll swim off with the scarves.
Oh, that's
so she has
cool.
more
Under the
scarves
water,
than she needs because
wow.
Ashley sometimes steal her scarves from her. But they also play with sargassum. So sometimes you see them with sort of algae trailing from their fins and tails. I have some pictures in here somewhere of them trailing sargassum.
That's great.
These were incredible. I mean, 2 hours with anything, including humans, is incredible. But 2 hours, 55 minutes with dolphins that are less than 10 feet from you for most of the time is incredible. And
that's
you
a
know
gift, right?
Yeah, and you know they're intelligent, and you know they're thinking, and you know they're interacting with you. So it's incredible.
Wow. Prince Hussain, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Not only your time that you've given us to show us, but your passion. You've sparked it, I think, in a lot of us, and it's been very eye-opening for myself and I'm sure the Jamaat.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before I let you go, though, I wanted to ask you about a song that has been written in honor of you and your work. It's called Child of the Ocean. It was written by Ismaili artists in the UK.
ICE, yeah, the Ismaili Community Ensemble.
Right, and it's been performed for you on every stop you've been at here in Canada. And you appear moved every time you hear it.
It's the most beautiful song I've ever heard. I felt so privileged and touched the first time I hear it, and I still do. And I literally want to cry every time I hear it. I mean, tears come to my eyes every single time. And I'd like it to go super public. I'd like the artists and the writers and the musicians to get super, well, hopefully known or satisfied by it and, lauded for it, because it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard.
It is.
I absolutely love it. Every time I hear it, tears come to my eyes.
It is, and again,
it's incredible.
It's an honor of you and your work. So thank you for doing this work.
Thank you so much.
You can do so much with your time, and you're so dedicated to this and to using your storytelling to make a difference in the world and for our ocean. So
thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
It's a huge privilege. I'm actually one of the luckiest people I know because I'm living my dream. I mean, I've been dreaming about seeing animals since I was 5. And by buying or collecting, photographs since I was 10 or 12. I'm living the dream I've always had, and I just feel so privileged. Now I have this incredible platform with the Jamaat that I didn't have ever. Now I have this incredible platform, this incredible privilege. It's the nicest thing in the world, and I'm so grateful. I can't tell you. I can't begin to express it.
And I think maybe we leave the audience with Child of the Ocean. Thank you again.
Perfect. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Starry night, sweet child of the ocean, With your small hands, you put change into motion. Waves whisper a welcome, been waiting for you to protect us. Magic that you do to save us, child of the ocean. Fearless defender, put on your armor, protect us and save us from the harmers. The future is now in your hands. Take a leap, be the change, make a vow to turn the world around. What will you do today? What will our children say? Be the change, be the change. Generations can see, hear and wonder the dance of dolphins, the crash of thunder. Please save us, child of the ocean. Fearless defender, put on your armor, protect us and save us from the harmers. Now in your hands, take a leap, be the change, make a vow to turn the world around. What will you do today? What will our children say? Be the change, be the change. Take a leap, be the change, make a vow to turn the world around. The future is now in your hands. Take a leap, be the change, make a vow to turn the world around.